Without further ado, though, it is Thursday, which means it's time for the All-Star panel. Our good buddy, former colleague at Newsmax, and the founder of League of American Workers, and a great documentarian, my buddy Steve Cortes. Sara Gonzales, who's over there at the Blaze doing God's work every day in and out. Great interview last night. Glenn Beck had it as well, but Sarah's amazing at the Blaze. And new to the panel, we got him in the second round of the draft. David Strom, the associate editor there at Hot Air. We traded him for a wide receiver and a pick to be named later. Good to see you, David. Listen, I don't know if you guys saw this. John Solomon on the show tomorrow, as he always, yesterday. Kay Haley's tomorrow. He predicts once again that things are going to happen. And sure enough, within hours, major bombshell. Let me just read you this. Well, this is what Solomon put out on X. While Donald Trump was chanting, "Lock her up" in 2016, it turns out the FBI had developed 3 cases to do that to Hillary Clinton over public corruption involving her foundation. But Obama's DOJ told the agents to, quote, shut it down. David, he goes into this whole thing and he talks about how Deputy Attorney General told the agents to shut it down. They literally tipped their hand in justice. So Hillary Clinton, a lot of allegations about the foundation, where the money was coming from. And here we have the Department of Justice, brand new bombshell under Obama, saying, shut it down, stop looking at Hillary Clinton. Yet I didn't see any coverage in the Washington Post, New York Times, or ABC this morning.
That is exactly the point that I was going to bring up as you discuss this. I mean, the Hillary Clinton drip, drip, drip is important for those of us who are insiders, who really follow a lot of this, but it will not break through to a lot of people until their prosecutions. What's really striking about this story is how it reinforces the fact that the mainstream media is just falling down on the job. And if you want to understand what's going on in the world, you really have to pay attention to the alternative media. Not just the Sean Spicer show, but Two Way, Just the News, the Washington Examiner, Hot
Blaze.
Air, the Blaze. That is where all the energy is, and that's where you really now get to understand what's going on in the world. I mean, the mainstream media, or I call them the Pravda media, really is just about the narrative. They push a narrative, which means pushing hoaxes and suppressing the truth.
Right. Steve Cortes, the narrative, speaking of that, is the Trump administration colluded with Russia. They weaponized this. And here we are with literally records showing the Department of Justice saying, stop looking into Hillary Clinton, even though agents found 3 serious cases to pursue. And yet, no talk about this morning. No talk about, everything that we accuse you guys of, we did ourselves.
Right. Nothing to see here. Sean, it really is sad. And David makes great points about the American media. There was a time when the media in the United States was so skeptical of the intelligence community and federal law enforcement that perhaps they were too far the other way. I mean, they believed nothing out of U.S. intelligence, nothing out of the FBI, out of the local cops. Now it has swung so far, the pendulum has swung so far that they are nothing but stenographers. They are effectively PR agents for the FBI, for the CIA, for the entire national security apparatus of the United States. And why do they play that role? Well, in part because those agencies have become so systemically politicized. They become such a deep part of permanent Washington to protect the administrative state and those prerogatives, rather than protecting the security of the American people, that they act effectively as political operatives. And now we see this. John Solomon does such great reporting. He's a real journalist who is well sourced in Washington, D.C. He's breaking significant further news here that only adds to the already serious stack of serious allegations with evidence against what was going on, particularly during the Obama years with people like Clapper and Brennan. And the reality is, regarding the Clintons specifically, I think any reasonable person who looks at that situation knows that the Clinton Foundation operated effectively as a slush fund for the Clintons for years so that they could live an incredibly grand lifestyle as effectively moguls funded by some of the worst people in governments on planet Earth, and doing it all under the veil of being a, quote, charity. Of course, it was a complete ruse. It was criminal in nature. And I think we now know that further given this new evidence.
All right, guys, I hate to interrupt this conversation, but if you're loving the Sean Spicer Show, maybe you want something to snack on, join me in getting a great snack in masa chips. These things are unbelievable. No seed oils, just 3 ingredients. And I'm telling you, they've got a ton of great flavors. Original, blue, lime, habanero. Oh, it's amazing. Every one of them is great. You can dip them. They're amazing. Go to masachips.com/Sean, S-E-A-N, masachips.com/Sean. Use code word Sean, spelled the right way, S-E-A-N, to get 25% off. All right, back to this great conversation. And remember, if you're watching the Sean Spicer Show, the official chip, masachips.com/Sean, code word Sean. Sara Gonzales, I know you guys picked it up at the Blaze last night, but let me just read another part of this John Solomon bombshell. It says the agents tried to get the help of federal prosecutors to determine whether or what crimes occurred while Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State, most notably because at the time her family foundation, and this is what Steve Cortes was saying, foundation solicited hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign and U.S. interests with business before her department. Mm-hmm. So you can say all you want about Trump, but here they are soliciting hundreds of millions of dollars from governments like Russia, and yet there's no discussion this morning at all about this. And you've got a direct correlation between the Deputy Attorney General telling agents, stop looking.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Democrats are the party of projection, right? Anything that they claim that we are doing, anything that they accuse the other side of doing, they are either actively doing or planning to do. That has been historically what the Democrat Party has done. But I mean, I would also caution conservatives to avoid taking a victory lap on this, because I know that it's very easy to say we're vindicated. We always knew the Clinton Foundation was dirty. We always knew they were operating like this. And now all of this is being brought to light. But the problem is we have not just this being brought to light by John Solomon, which amazing work by him. But we also have the whistleblower with Adam Schiff saying Adam Schiff wanted to leak classified information, not in the Obama administration, but in the Trump administration. And the DOJ and the FBI shut that down during a Trump presidency. So I think that it's really important that we take all of this information. And I mean, we should feel vindicated on the inside, is like, we knew it all along. They called us conspiracy theorists. They called us crackpots, but we were the ones who were right all along. But we need to take that righteous indignation and we need to make sure that there is full accountability for what has happened within this deep state, within the DOJ, within the FBI. And so far, I have been incredibly underwhelmed with the steps that have been taken in this administration to prove to us that we are not tolerating this deep state bureaucracy anymore. I have very real fears moving forward. If this can all happen, not just in an Obama presidency, but in a Trump presidency, I mean, how far does this get before we can finally shut it down and say enough is enough and put these criminals where they need to go? It's really scary for me that now is the time. This is something that there was a large amount of young men who voted, particularly on this issue of holding these elite criminals accountable. And if we can't do that, I really worry about the party's direction in the future.
Yeah, Sarah, I think you make a really important point there, which is we cannot be content with moral victories, right? That's not enough. It's reassuring, of course, to know that your intuition was correct and that your logic was sound. But that doesn't win the day eventually. That doesn't save our country. To David's point, we need people in handcuffs, right? We need indictments of very, very senior people, and we need to see them in handcuffs. Now, those aren't easy cases to build, so I understand that can take time. I do have full confidence, by the way, in Ed Martin, who should be the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. Their loss, but hopefully our gain as Americans, because he is going to be prosecuting and leading the investigation right now on many of these cases, exactly the kinds of cases we're talking about. I think he's one of the smartest and most principled attorneys in America. So I have every confidence that he is going to get there, but we need to get there quickly, and we need to see really tangible results. And by that, I mean senior people, Clapper, Brennan, McCabe, the like, in handcuffs, being perp walked, being charged with really serious crimes.
Yep.
Yeah, this gets to the point that right now in the United States, we have a fourth branch of government that in many ways is the most powerful branch of government, and it is completely completely without any accountability to the political branch of government, or even to a great extent to the judicial branch. You'll remember that the FBI lied to the FISA court. They go to great lengths to basically control what happens in government through the administrative state, something that Steve works an awful lot about. And they collude with the media, and they are now, in many ways, the most powerful force in government. And this is why Trump is such a threat to them, because he's seizing power back. And a lot of people look at that and say, well, he's becoming authoritarian. But in fact, he's bringing electoral accountability to a system that lost that going back decades, really. I mean, it started under the Wilson administration and has picked up steam over the last century, to the point now where the administrative state is completely unaccountable most of the time.
Yeah. So let me just pick up on what Sarah's commenting on, and Steve touched on this as well. But just, I want to quickly, I know I normally do predictions at the end, but do any of you guys actually think someone will be arrested or charged for any of this? Sarah, I'll go to you first, because you're shaking your head. I kind of agree with you. This is what I've been saying for weeks. Stop getting me excited,
right?
And then being like, sorry, we can't do anything, right? So yeah. Is it fair to say that you don't think anyone's actually going to be held accountable for any of this?
I don't. I wish that I had more optimism than that, but I don't. And to your point, Sean, it becomes increasingly frustrating to continue to hear and get right in front of me with the smoking gun. Hey, you were right all along. You're not crazy. And then yet to still think that nothing would be done. It's almost more frustrating than not even knowing at all. So no, to answer your point, I wish that I had more optimism, but from what I'm seeing so far, it doesn't, I just don't see that happening. And I think that would be a huge miss by this administration.
You know where we might see a little bit of accountability, and it's disappointing, but it could be on the mortgage issues, where Letitia James and Adam Schiff might actually get caught on that, in the way that they used to go after gangsters on things like income tax. They can't get them on the big crime, so they go for something else. And those are fairly clean cases, in a way that the political crimes they've committed are going to be so much harder to prove. And it's going to be much more of a political fight on those issues.
Listen, I think you're all being too pessimistic. Okay, you're being too pessimistic. This is going
This is what I need,
happen.
Steve Cortes.
Yes.
This is what I need. Get me excited.
Yeah,
but let me be clear. I'm not saying convictions. Convictions, because probably these cases have to be brought in Washington, D.C. Convictions will be brutally tough in that venue. But indictments, perp walks, arrests, forcing these people to endure the lawfare that they have inflicted on our side for years and years, most notably Donald Trump, but a lot of other people too, a lot of regular citizens who didn't have the wherewithal and the finances to effectively defend themselves. Are they going to have to endure that gauntlet? I believe they are. And let me be specific. Clapper and Brennan, I think one, if not both of them, are going to be indicted because the evidence is overwhelming, the evidence that we already know about. Undoubtedly, there's even more evidence that will be uncovered and revealed into a trial. And regarding what I hear is an objection to my prediction most of the time, even from folks on the right, is what about statute of limitations? Remember, they have repeated these lies and lied about the initial crimes. So the initial crime, perhaps, is out of the reach more than 5 years ago. However, they have in official proceedings, not just on air, in official proceedings, repeated those very same lies within 5 years. So I fully expect, I believe this. I don't think I'm being Pollyanna, guys. And listen, I'm generally as cynical on Washington, D.C. as anybody could be, okay? But I believe we are going to see Clapper and or Brennan in handcuffs. I believe that.
Okay.
I hope Steve is right and I'm wrong.
No, I do too. Look, but here's the point that I think Steve is making, or at least that I'm getting out of what Steve said at the end. They've been unbelievably creative. I mean, think about Donald Trump's New York case, which is like 2 random felonies on a Tuesday before noon equals 1 made-up felony, right? And why is our side like, well, I'm sorry, the statute of limitations in the Northeast during daylight savings, like, stop it. I'm so tired of our side being like, well, technically, you can't do this. Did that stop them? No. Why do we care? But this is a perfect transition to what I wanted to bring up. We can talk about fighting and winning. You know who's fought and won? Melania Trump. When she's been defamed, she fights back, and she got a massive settlement from the Daily Mail when they defamed her, right? So Hunter Biden does this interview with this Channel 5 nut job and goes off and makes some accusations about Trump and President Trump and Mrs. Trump and Epstein. And apparently it's unbelievably false and defamatory. So she sues Hunter Biden and says, I'm going to sue you for $1 billion. Okay? And to me, this gets back to this night. If you don't fight, then you will never win. And Melania is willing to fight, saying, hey, Hunter Biden, you lied to me. So she sends a notice out to Channel 5, this YouTube channel, and Hunter saying, take it down and apologize, which, by the way, that's the easy thing. It's just all you need to do is stop it, and I'll let you keep going. But this is Hunter Biden's response. And Sarah, I want you and now I'm just to be clear, we're going to bleep it out, but if there's kids in the room, just so you know, it's very, how shall I say this? It's very on brand for Hunter Biden's responses. But here is the response from the Hunter Biden side.
Presidential litigation has arrived. It's lawsuit time. In my hand is a legal demand letter addressed to Mr. Hunter Biden from the First Lady of the United States, demanding a retraction of Channel 5's video called Hunter Biden Returns, in which Mr. Biden here makes some speculative comments about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein, Melania Trump, and Donald Trump.
Okay, well, they knew each other well. They spent an enormous time together. According to his biographer, is that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania. That's how Melania and the First Lady and the president met.
Really?
Yeah.
Epstein made the intro.
Yeah, according to Michael Wolff.
Yeah.
And so I only can go by what people are saying, and I don't know.
He didn't make these claims out of nowhere. They come from another journalist named Michael Wolff, who is a biographer that actually spoke to Jeffrey Epstein. But now here we are. And I've got $1 billion document in my hands because Mrs. Trump is seeking $1 billion in damages if we don't take the video down and if Hunter here doesn't issue a formal apology to Mrs. Trump. So now we're here maybe to give you the platform to apologize to the First Lady for your statements that you made about her possible connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, Sara Gonzales. Basically, he's saying, F that, not going to happen. What do you predict on this one?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Hunter Biden he is devolving very rapidly. I'm not sure if this is like his crack smoking buddy or not, but it just seems awfully strange that he is now out there being so forward and brazen with his comments when his daddy was running and when his daddy was in charge, he tried to hide behind the scenes. So it's just very interesting, but kind of a change of character. I wonder if he's had a drug test recently. But I mean, the fact of the matter is this. We saw a totally different Melania Trump on Inauguration Day. She came out there. She had like that gangster hat on. You couldn't really see her eyes. And I think that in that moment, it was very clear that not just President Trump, but Melania Trump as well, 2020 hindsight is a thing. And they look back at what these people did to them, the 91 indictments, the 34 felony counts, the 2 assassination attempts. And they look back at that and they say, okay, you know what? Perhaps the biggest mistake that we made was, to your point earlier, Sean, perhaps the biggest mistake that we made was saying lock her up about Hillary Clinton and then not doing it, because these people will go to great lengths to sully your reputation, to sully your career, to sully your livelihood. I mean, these people mean business and they will fight to win, and they will fight using whatever means necessary because the ends justifies the means. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. And I think that you're dealing with a Melania Trump who recognizes that. And I don't think she's going to back down. And it looks to me like she has enough on her side in her favor. But I think this is the way. This is the path forward. More conservatives need to stop letting these people try to come up with lies and rumors and be deceitful and be manipulative. And you've seen that with not just Melania, but President Trump as well, with his lawsuits against CBS News and these other mainstream media organizations that just blatantly lie about them. And I would encourage more conservatives to do the same, because these people need to be put on notice that we are not tolerating this anymore.
Steve, do you think she ultimately prevails in this?
Oh, I do. Definitely. I'll tell you, Hunter better get busy painting, because he's going to have some bills to pay, some legal bills as well as some awards. The only problem is now with his father not in the White House, what are his paintings worth? Well, probably very little. So he really needs to get painting. But no, listen, good for Melania. I love that that you called her, Sarah, gangster Melania. But listen, this is important beyond just symbolism. You're exactly correct that we need to fight fire with fire. And the left has effectively used litigation and the intimidation of litigation for a very long time against those of us on the right. And it's time that we employ these tactics when the facts are on our side. And they clearly are in this case. So good for her. By the way, I would also add, just as a side, because I think it's fascinating, I was just over in Warsaw for the inauguration of the new president there, who was very much of the MAGA variety, Nowrowski, very much a fan of Donald Trump. And I was honored to be there. And it was very telling to me that as he was sworn in, his beautiful wife looked exactly like Melania. I mean, down to the dress. It was very clear to me that she was trying to channel Melania. So even beyond our shores, I think she has tremendous impact, tremendous influence, great influence for this country, to the point where she's being copied, which is the sincerest form of flattery, of course. But that was something to see.
David, before I get your take on this, Steve, so what was the deal? Did they just reach out to you and say, "Hi, Steve Cortes, we know you worked on his campaigns a couple times. Would you like to come?"
Yeah, basically, they asked me to give a speech. So there was a conference for Make Europe Great Again, and they wanted some American speakers to come over and effectively say, lessons learned that can be applied to Europe. And I was sort of the media lane of that. So it was really quite an honor. I got to give a speech the night before and saw a lot of the White House delegation, the official U.S. delegation that was there. They were staying at my same hotel. The country exploded. It was really fantastic, just a great event, and good news for Poland, because Poland was trending the wrong way. They were really starting to veer left, and hopefully this is about a serious reversal back to the populist right.
All right. Well, that's actually, those are the cool things that, sometimes you get to do or you get to do that I think are pretty cool. David, back to the subject here. I mean, Steve brought up the money, and I don't, I've talked about this before. These things, when you are staring down the barrel of this, whether it's a civil lawsuit or the Mueller report, lawyers cost money. And I talked about this with John Solomon yesterday with respect to Michael Flynn. When you are a citizen and the government comes knocking, or a big funded outside entity comes knocking and says, we're going to sue you or prosecute you, and you're staring down the barrel of lawyers that cost $1,000 an hour, I do wonder if Hunter says to himself, hey, paintings aren't getting what they used to get. Daddy's not able to get me on the board of any energy companies that I'm unqualified for. I might want to just say, Uncle, I'm sorry, Madam First Lady, I didn't mean to disparage you, and call it a day.
Well, I think Hunter is rolling the dice here. He knows that there is an appetite for going after MAGA, going after Trump, and he's looking for the next great grift. But as you watch what's happening here, Republicans fighting back for the first time really in my lifetime has yielded results. I mean, Media Matters is dying because of the lawsuits going after them. And I think what we're seeing here is, for the very first time, there is a class of Republicans out there who say, we don't want to be part of the elite. We're not going to beg to become part of this structure that's out there. We're here to tear it down and replace it with something that represents the American people. This is the secret to the populist right. It really is less about any particular set of issues. And more about a rebellion against a corrupt elite that needs to be taken down. And so we have to use every tactic out there. And Trump led the way by suing the establishment folks who have been slandering him. And I do think that we're moving away from the Mitt Romney, George W. Bush model and going towards Trumpism. And again, I do not think this is really fundamentally about the issues. It's about reinvigorating America and bringing the power back down to the people.
Well,
David, it's.
Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to say your point is backed by polling, too, which is very interesting. So I just did a really extensive poll, and this is all public. I published all this of Wisconsin, where we polled 3,000 Trump voters. So a really large database of Trump-only voters. We did Wisconsin because it was the closest swing state it normally is, and we wanted to know, what do they really believe? And fascinating, we found out that the only issue that really matters to them is immigration. They're negotiable on all the other issues. But what matters even more than immigration, matters more than any issue by far, was fight. That was by far the number one thing in this survey that they told us that they respect and admire about Trump, and that they demand in other candidates, is to have that kind of fight. So the data backs exactly what you're saying here, that that spirit, that being pugnacious, that is exactly what voters are looking for, because they know that the establishment of this country, whether R or D, that the establishment has made their lives more difficult, has made them less prosperous, less safe, and they realize that we cannot fight that establishment with niceties any longer. So the polling certainly backs what you're saying.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.